Vamos a poner una pausa al contenido sobre Inter Miami para hablar sobre ustedes, sobre lo que les gusta jugar fútbol y que quisieran estudiar en Estados Unidos, en una universidad en Estados Unidos con una beca de futbolista. Es que el otro día tuve el placer de conocer y de entrevistar a Lars Blenckers, un holandés que precisamente vino de su país para jugar fútbol aquí en Estados Unidos y al mismo tiempo estudiar en una universidad, porque vino con esa beca universitaria. Entonces, cuando él se graduó, él se dedicó a ese negocio, a ayudar a los chicos en otros países, inclusive de aquí también, pero de otros países como de su propio país, de Holanda, de Netherlands, o de Sudamérica, de Argentina, Chile, Ecuador, Perú, a conseguir becas para futbolistas. Así que si tú eres un buen futbolista, tienes buenas notas y quieres estudiar en Estados Unidos y sabes inglés más que nada, esta es la oportunidad, este contenido te va a interesar, así que no te lo pierdas. A propósito, déjanos tus preguntas aquí abajo, que Lars y yo vamos a estar monitoreando esas preguntas para responderte inmediatamente. Y si amerita, volvemos a hacer otra entrevista a Lars y vemos muchas preguntas que quedaron muchas dudas. Así que disfruta el contenido. Me avisa si te gustó y déjame tus respuestas.
In America, we have a lot of universities, and these universities, they have sports teams. They have soccer teams. Not all the universities have soccer teams for men's, but we have different levels. There are around 1,500 universities with soccer teams. And what they're looking for, they want to be the best soccer team possible.
Obviously,
and what they're looking for is to bring in talent, also a lot of international talent from Europe, from South America, from all over the world to, make the team better, make the team stronger. And in order to make it attractive for the internationals, they can offer a scholarship because studying in the US is very expensive. Not only tuition, but also housing, meals, everything that's included in the cost. And what they do is they offer a scholarship, make it more affordable for the international students and to make it more attractive to not only study at the university, but also play for the soccer team.
Tell me about this project that you have.
Yeah, so my company, Plus 31 Sports, we try to achieve a couple of things. The first one is to create awareness about the opportunity. Like you said, not a lot of players know about the opportunity to play in the US, play for a university. So that's the first thing that we want to achieve. Go out there, let the people know, like, hey, this is an opportunity. The second thing that we want to achieve is that we can actually help these players. Because even if you know about the opportunity, we still have so many universities. A lot of people don't know really how to get a scholarship or how to contact the coaches. So the second part of this is when they actually want to come to the US is that we help them and we guide them and we give them advice. And we've built a very extensive network over the last couple of years, let's say 10 years, with a lot of coaches. So we're trying to identify what schools can be a good fit for the players that are looking to come to the US. So that's kind of like what we do for the players, for the families. We just basically start the process with them and make sure that they end up at a good university here. Obviously, the dream for most of the football players to become a professional player, to play in Europe, play in the Premier League, play in La Liga. But there is a lot of players that don't make it. That's just the reality. And I think for the players that don't make it to the professional level when they're 17, 18 years old, it's a very nice step to come to the US because at the same time, you can also go to university, play at a high level, like I said, play as a professional player and come home with a degree. And after that, you can start your career in business, in finance, or whatever you want to pursue. You still need to be very talented to come over here. But usually the players, it's a very good step for them that don't make it to the professional level when they're 17, 18, and then they just want to keep playing at a high level, but school is also important. But also at the same time, you earn a degree. So later in life, you can work for a very nice company or start your own business. I think that's very important because I also have seen friends in the past that just only focus on football, don't go to school anymore. And then when they're 25, 26, it's very difficult to start working at a company without a degree and without any schooling.
It is true. ¿Cómo se llama tu compañía?
Plus 31 Sports.
What is it called, Plus 31 Sports?
Yeah, so it's called Plus 31 Sports because plus 31 is the country code of the Netherlands.
Oh, look at that.
If you type in the phone number, you have to add plus 31, like the US is +1,
Oh,
plus
love
31, and that's
Love it.
what the name came from.
Yo me metí a tu página y no encontré nada en español. Mi audiencia, hay colombianos, ecuatorianos, argentinos. No sé si tú quisieras expandir a esa audiencia.
So we started with English only. We added everything in Dutch too, to
Of course.
obviously Dutch audience. And I think a logical next step will be to add it in Spanish as well. We have a few players from Argentina, from Chile, that are in our program. So yeah, that would be a logical next step, to add it in Spanish. But my Spanish is not good enough. My wife is Spanish, so I'm working on that. But my Spanish is not good enough yet to feel comfortable to help the families speaking in their own language. Because I also think that's very important. So you understand in your own language, like what does it mean? How does it work? So that will be a next step.
Then, you know what? Obviously, whoever wants to study to the USA, they have to know English. However, many of my audience, they are parents. And they need to know what's the message that you want to send them.
Yeah, that's very difficult because I think it's very important that I have a good connection also with the parents. Like I'm a father just myself now, a 9-month-old boy. And I know how important it is for the parents to understand, okay, if my son or daughter is coming to the US, what does that mean for us? What can I expect? Like he's going all the way over to the US to play here, and they need to know what they can expect, where their son or daughter is going to, or is it safe? Are they going to be in good hands? And I'm not comfortable yet to have that conversation directly with the family in Spanish.
Yeah.
So when we want to expand and need to expand, we will have to bring in someone.
But you know what?
Spanish.
Once our audience get to see this video, they want to know more. So you have to be ready. I know many people in Latin America in this bracket that you are targeting. They know some English, but they're going to have difficulties talking to you.
Yeah.
So I guess, do you have the patience to speak to a parent who's have like a half English?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have had clients in South America where the parents, maybe one parent speaks very good English and the other parent needs some translation, or even where the player translates for the parent.
Okay.
That can always work. I also have a very good friend that I used to work with for a very long time. He's from Chile. He also came here on a scholarship, so he's been through the whole experience. So we have resources.
So are you gonna be straightforward if you see the kid is look, he's not ready to play, or are you gonna sugarcoat it and say, no, let's do it in order to take the money? So what's your position on that?
Yeah, no, and I think this is the most crucial part of the process. So what we do before they start the process with us, we do an evaluation. So we start with an introduction meeting where I can explain a little bit more about the opportunity, where I can learn more about the family, more about the player. If they like what they see and they want to know more, okay, what is my opportunity? We do an evaluation. We look at the player, what their level is. Usually it's based on videos, stats, the background, like what clubs do they play for? Do you play for the national team? Do you play for a top regional team? That's what we look at. We look at the player as a student. Do they have good grades? Do they speak good English? Like you said, they also need to speak English to come over here. And also we need to find out, okay, what is kind of like their budget? Can they afford to come to the US to pay some money for the university? Because a scholarship is not going to cover everything. That's just the reality. So with all that information, I put together a recruitment plan, that's what we call it. And in that plan, I show the parents like, look, your son or your daughter, we think he or she can play at this level. We think he can qualify for this scholarship. And this is kind of like what it will cost you. We put that all together, and then for us, it's kind of up to the family to decide, okay, is it worth it? Can we afford it? Do we think the level is good enough? And sometimes we have players that are not good enough. And then I just have to say, look, I don't think there is an option for you to play here. So yeah, we have to figure that out before we start the process. What we want to achieve is that all the players that we work with, they all find a place. So we never want to sign up players and then a year later, oh, I'm sorry, we couldn't find you anything. So I think it's very important. And trust is very important. So we want to build the relationship with the families, that they trust us. So that's what we do before we even start the process.
Who pays for your service?
So the families pay because the universities are not allowed to pay us. That's against the rules, like against the NCAA rules, NAIA rules. And the reason is because otherwise you get a university is paying us more money to get this player, and then it's not good competition.
Todos los padres van a querer saber cuánto cuesta contratarte para que tú des tu servicio.
So generally speaking, our services, the total package is around $4,000 US. And that's basically for a period of, that could either be like a year to 4 years. So sometimes the process is only a year, but we also support the player and the family when they are here in the US. We understand it's a lot of money that you have to invest into your son's or daughter's future. I want to make sure that there is a guarantee that he can actually go over to the US on a scholarship. So that's why the evaluation is so important, that we can give the families a good indication, like, hey, this is what it's going to look like. And then we can almost say like for 100% sure we can help the player and the family.
Entonces yo me imagino que es un proceso en el que tú tienes que decidir si vas a aceptar o no a ese chico para seguir con el procedimiento.
So we call it like a pre-process. So first we do an introduction meeting, learn a little bit more about the family. I explain a little bit more about the opportunity. Then I have to see video. I have to evaluate the player, the skills, how good is the player, do they have a chance to play here? I need to see the students, the players' grades, how well are they doing in school, because that's also important. And then I can tell the family, like, look, this is the type of scholarship that you can get. With all that information, hopefully the family has enough information to say like, oh yeah, this looks good, we want to do this. And then I can basically tell them, look, if you want to hire us for this project, the process, I can be almost 100% sure that we can find a very good place for him or her.
Entonces yo creo que el papá y el estudiante tienen que ser sinceros en mostrar su capacidad, porque tú no quieres mandar un video súper recontraditado para que él diga, oh no, este estudiante está buenísimo. Entonces yo creo que no quieres invertir $4,000 para que después tu hijo no esté en la capacidad que le vendiste a Lars. We love our kids.
Yeah.
We think they're the best, they're Maradona, they're Messi, you know, but they are actually not. So what do you have to say about that?
Of course, we don't want to see any speed up videos where it's faster than it actually is. Because we also then have to promote it to the coaches. And if it's not real, then the coaches are not going to trust us anymore.
And you look bad.
Yeah, and we look bad. So it's important to make it realistic, but at the end of the day, you also want to come to the US. So we have to make a nice and good promotional video, because we have to sell the player to the coaches. That's kind of part of the job. It's like in the professional world, if you're an agent, you have to sell the player to the club and to the managers.
¿Cómo tú aconsejas a los papás que hagan ese tipo de video?
Often when the player plays at a very high level, their games are filmed professionally by like a camera in the stands. Mm-hmm. So that's very helpful, because then we can just ask the club, hey, send us the footage. We have 7 games. We can just clip the best pieces, and we have a nice video. Sometimes they play at a level where the games are not filmed. So then we ask the family to put a camera stand, film a game, film half the game, and then we get the clips out of that. So it's a mix of that. But yeah, they have to provide the footage themselves. We are not going over to, for example, Argentina to shoot the videos ourselves.
¿Por qué una universidad va a querer tantos estudiantes de otros países cuando acá hay muchos chicos americanos que quisieran, y que acá la mentalidad, especialmente ahora con los movimientos políticos que están pasando, es America first, primero los americanos?
So, I mean, the reason coaches are looking for international players is because there are so many universities with a soccer team, but there is not enough talent to fill all the teams. There is talent in the US, but with so many schools, they need to bring them in from other countries. And especially, you know, from South America, we have a lot of talent there. In Europe, there's a lot of talent. So they bring in the better players to, you know, make the team stronger. You see sometimes that a soccer team is half of them are internationals. So that's the reason why they bring in the internationals. They need them to have strong soccer programs.
Yo estoy en Instagram y veo a FIU Soccer y siempre están anunciando, oh, trajimos un jugador de España, trajimos un jugador de México. So my question is, how are they following the students? How are they scouting the student? Is it through people like you, or they have scouters all over the world? How that works?
Most of the time is through agencies, like companies like ours. And sometimes like a coach has a connection with a professional club, and if someone doesn't go pro and they want to give the opportunity to come to the US, so sometimes they find the players on their own, but a lot of the times they find them through a company like an agency like us.
So if they hire you, what colleges, what connections do you have?
Yeah, so we have, over the last 7-8 years, we have a network of a lot of colleges and the coaches. But the thing is also, a lot of the coaches, they change jobs. So sometimes he's the FIU coach, but then next year he's going to UCF in Orlando, for example. So they move around a lot. But since our network is that big, we usually only one text or a phone call away from a university. So let's say we don't know the coaches at Jacksonville, but we know a coach that knows the coach at Jacksonville. So we can always make the connections. And then I think what's very important, that we know which schools to reach out to, because sometimes you have a player and they tell us, I want to go to FIU. FIU is a very good football team, soccer team.
Yes.
Not everyone can play at FIU. You have to be very good. But we get a lot of players like, hey, I want to go to FIU because it's in Miami. And then we have to tell them, like, look, we don't think you're going to be good enough for that team. We have to look at other options. So we're not going to waste the coach's time by sending them like 100 players.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that what we send to the players, that they can be a good fit.
Entonces, ¿qué pasa si un estudiante quiere ir a una universidad específica por el programa que tiene y quiere jugar fútbol en esa universidad?
Usually when a family or a player says, I only want specifically go to that university, it is going to be a very difficult process. We usually ask the players and families to be a bit more open-minded, open to other options.
Are you able to give choices to the student? Well, we have 2 or 3 choices for you. Which college you want to pursue?
Yeah, so how that works is we put a list together, and then we say we're going to reach out to these colleges because we think that's a good fit. In the ideal situation, we have 4 or 5 coaches come back to us and say, like, oh yeah, I'll be interested in this player. Then you start the conversation with those coaches, and then from there you eliminate the ones that you don't like, and then 2 or 3 usually are left over, and then they make an offer, and then you make a decision out of the schools. That's typically how the process works.
¿Por qué un papá en Latinoamérica, en Argentina o Chile, Ecuador, puede confiar en ti?
My job is obviously to make sure that they feel comfortable, that I give them a lot of information, that I give them a good evaluation, also that I can tell them transparently and realistically, like, hey, we can look at these universities, this is what it's going to cost. And over the last couple of years, we've had a lot of clients that worked with us, so they can be very good references if they speak to these players. But yeah, trust is the most important thing, and it's for me sometimes hard because I'm here in the US and they speak to me most of the time through Zoom or FaceTime, and they're like, oh, I don't know this guy.
No, and you can go to his Instagram page and you can see all the students or the athletes that he have helped reach out their goals into an American university on your website. Tell them how to reach your Instagram page and your website.
Yeah. So I'm very active on Instagram with my own personal page. I always post about the players. I try to do interviews with the players. I try to visit the players at the universities, and visit our website on www.plus31sports.com. Probably put it in the description or somewhere.
Yes, I will.
And my Instagram is lars.blenckers for Plus 31 Sports. That's where you can reach me. And then I think the easiest way is to go on the website. There is a sign up button. Leave your details. I'll shoot you a message. I'll give you a call, and then we're gonna have to find out together if this is something for them.
And remember, he opened his company because he went through that journey yourself, and you saw there's an opportunity and a problem to solve for students, across the world to come into the United States. You know the needs, right?
Yeah.
You know how to facilitate and how to reach out, and you know what the students' problems or concerns are because you lived it yourself.
Yeah. So I think that's a very important part of it. Like, I'm 31 now, but I still feel like young, and I still feel like I'm at that age where I can really live through them and understand what they're going through. And, I know I've been there when I was 18, 19, 20. I had to come to the US. It's a big step, lots of questions. So I'm trying to make them feel comfortable, confident about the decision to come over here. And I know what they're going through. So I'm just trying to, relate to them. It's like, look, I understand this is not going to be easy, or it's a lot of work to do this. And then just help them that way.
Ok, Lars, yo quiero que en este momento hables en la cámara y le digas a los papás básicamente todo lo que hemos hablado, pero tú se lo digas a ellos porque porque tú invitas a que confíen en ti.
Okay, so this is to the parents for the players that are looking to play in the US. I think the first step is always good to have that conversation with me so I can learn a little bit more about your daughter or son, can learn a little bit more about your family to understand what you're looking for. And then together we can just find out if it's possible, and if it's possible, what kind of universities are possible, what the cost will be. And what you can expect from the whole process and what you can expect from working with me. What I always find very important is that you can trust me. So if we do start working on this process together, I want you to understand what it is that you can get from me, what I can do for you. So that's the whole foundation of the relationship with all of the clients that I work with. And then from there, we can actually start the process. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. We're going to be reaching out to coaches. We're going to be talking about universities. You're going to learn a lot about this process, about playing in the US along the way. And, my goal is to be there 24/7 for you always, to answer all the questions, but ultimately getting you the right results. So you can contact us through our website. It's www.plus31sports.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Lars.Blenckers.
Lo escucharon del hombre, Lars himself. Aquí está el hombre, él quiere ayudar a tu hijo. Obviamente no hagas trampa, pon un video bueno de tu hijo sin ponerle velocidad, que juegue bien. No quiero que pierdas tu dinero, sino que si sinceramente tú ves que tu hijo tiene la posibilidad de venir a Estados Unidos y competir en este país y sacar un título universitario en Estados Unidos, este es el hombre que te va a ayudar. ¿Sí o no? ¿Ya?
Sí.
Exacto. Muchas gracias, Lars. Y gracias por ayudar a la comunidad y vamos a jugar fútbol.
Sí, muchas gracias también.
Lo que yo aprendí de esta conversación, y te lo voy a hacer una conclusión rapidita para que lo tengas bien anotadito, es que primero tienes que ser un buen futbolista o una buena futbolista. Tienes que ser muy bueno en el deporte en el cual estás aplicando la beca. Tienes que demostrarlo con pruebas, videos que muestren que eres un buen futbolista. Número 2, tienes que tener buenas notas académicas. No solamente es jugar buen fútbol, sino tienes que demostrar que eres un buen estudiante, que vas a tener seriedad en tu universidad, porque para aquí tú quieres sacar un título universitario. Y número 3, tienes que tener un poco de dinero, porque la beca te va a cubrir 50, 60 o 70%, depende de la universidad y del programa que tú hayas recibido o hayas aceptado o que te hayan ofrecido. Así es que igual vas a necesitar dinero para costear las diferencias, ya sea tu dormitorio, tu comida, transporte, lo que sea, o un poquito de todo eso, inclusive la universidad. Pero aún te vas a ahorrar mucho dinero si que te sacas una beca como esta. Así es que espero que tomes en serio y que lo hagas. Si quieres estudiar en Estados Unidos y tienes estas 3 calificaciones, hazlo. No lo pienses mucho. Habla con tu papá o habla con tu hijo, con tu hija y vayan estudiando esto para ver si pueden calificar y si pueden venir a Estados Unidos. Acá lo importante es que vas a sacar un título universitario. Muchos futbolistas terminan su carrera futbolística y no tienen nada más. Tú tienes aquí el acceso de jugar fútbol de manera profesional en universidades, en torneos universitarios. Puedes tener la posibilidad de que te elija un equipo de fútbol profesional después que te gradúes, o ya si no, ya tienes un título universitario y ya puedes seguir tu carrera. Ya jugaste fútbol y ahora puedes seguir una carrera. Así es que, por favor, comparte este video a la gente que le interese y que tenga estas capacidades, que pueda ayudar, que le dé visión. Así es que muchas gracias y nos vemos en el próximo contenido. Chao.